There you see Pond Creek Road where we had to stop with the truck. Comes up over here, comes up yonder, swings down around, and you'll be able to see on some of the hauler transformation videos how that's changed over time and how I built that. It still needs some work. Everything on the homestead, the ranch, whatever you want to call it, it's always a little bit at a time. But this is already a huge improvement from what it was before. Take you on down there and show you where we ultimately plan to have a greenhouse operation. On the other side there, that log, you can see where the creek kind of dumps off into the pond. There's also a spring right there in the creek. This creek is basically just runoff from the road. This is the headwaters of the creek. Well, up by the driveway where you first saw us at the beginning of this video. You can see this little cluster of maples. We're going to clear that on out. I believe that's a beech. We're gonna bring that on out as well. We're leaving all the tulip poplars. It's good for the bees. But roughly right around in that area, we're gonna put in at least a 10 by 10 greenhouse. We'd like to put something in bigger, but sometimes you gotta start small. Honeybees, we got started with that 2022, a year after we started our operations here. This here is apiary alpha. This is also our honey apiary. As of right now, at the making of this video, what is this, October 1st, 2023, we only got the 2 hives. Next year we'll have at least 4. As we expand apiary alpha, it'll run up this road, right up alongside of it, and you can see the oak right here. That's more or less the end of apiary alpha, to ensure that they get sufficient sunlight during the day. These 2 hives here, they're going to receive the most shade. Not something you exactly want, but it's not the end of the world either. But that's apiary alpha, or our honey apiary. This right here, Thunder Ridge Road, Pond Creek Road. We ain't gonna go back down on here. We still have a lot of work to do on this, but this here is Sourwood Loop, the lower portion of that. That winds up back here this way. Up, you got pasture 3 here, going all the way down towards the garden, about half a mile from the house. So this will all be pasture 3. At the top of the ridge, where Sourwood Loop climbs up to, it'll climb up around. That right up along the road there, facing pasture 3 on the inside of the road. That's the edge of our property. That's Sourwood Loop. Lots of sourwood trees up there, and that's where I'm going to have apiary Bravo. We'll get to that here in just a little bit, and I'll explain that in a little bit better detail when we get up there. When we bought the property, this is where Thunder Ridge Road traveled through. We tore down an old tobacco barn. It was in a lot of disarray. It was in disarray, needed a lot of work, and we just decided it was more cost effective to tear it down, and we'll build up a barn later on, start afresh. Just behind this tree here, that is our processing zone. We right now we're just processing our poultry, but eventually we're going to build in some infrastructure, and we'll have cattle, hog, lamb processing as well. That's one of many goals around here. Don't mind my brush pile. And then this right here, just right around the bend from the processing area, is where we keep our birds and whatnot pending processing. As you can see, we've got a couple of roosters here. They're just waiting their turn. We do keep them watered and keep them food. Looks like they could use some more at this time. We'll get that taken care of here in just a minute. We like to keep our critters happy and believe that a happy animal is a tasty animal. You don't want to be rude or cruel or disrespectful to your animals. This right here is just a trail we forged out to begin clearing and dragging stuff out as we clear it up. Once again, all this right here, pasture 3, going all the way on up. Basically on the other side of this oak. There you go, you can see I ain't pulling strings, that's an oak. That's basically going to be the line from this oak across to this tulip poplar, and then kind of going catty corner back on that ways towards the property line, which is a creek for the most part. So all this side is going to be pasture 2. All this side here is pasture 3. At the end of pasture 3, where Sourwood Loop and Upper Sourwood Loop and Thunder Ridge Road convene, that is, or converge rather, is going to be a 3 area, roughly 3 acre area. We'll be using as our holding paddock. You'll see that in just a minute. That's also right across from the garden. We've got mostly the. We're switching things up. You know, things are always a process, trial and error. We're going to be growing more of the corn, taters, and those sorts of things down there, and bringing the things that require a lot more water and attention up closer to the house. Without further ado, let's roll on through. You can take a look at pasture 2 and pasture 3 on either side. Here you see Sourwood Loop. This is where it converges with Thunder Ridge Road. Like I said, this area here, we're clearing that all out. This is going to be a 3 acre, approximately, pasture, holding paddock. They recommend when you bring in livestock, especially you already got livestock, it's best to segregate them for about 30 days. Just to make sure they ain't got no sickness or illness. You don't want to spread that to the rest of your herd. Well, let's cover this. I ain't gonna trudge through all this mud, but roughly where you see Doc, just a little bit back from there, that's the edge of the holding paddock. So you can imagine all this here mostly clear. We're gonna leave the oaks, we're gonna leave the tulip poplars, we're gonna leave the sourwoods. Just about everything else gonna be coming out from this paddock. And then on the other side there, between Sourwood Loop and Thunder Ridge Road, all this is going to be pasture 3, with the exception of this last 3 acres, roughly. That's the holding paddock. All this here, up to right about here, roughly. It might fluctuate a little bit once we get the hot wire in, and you know, we might have to pull it in, or we can push it back out some, depending on how much extra slack we got. But this is going to be paddock 2, and this here's all paddock 1, all the way down to the creek, and then out towards the bass pond we're digging out. You have to excuse, it's kind of overgrown right now, but this here is this is supposed to be our garden. We've been out of state a couple times this year visiting family, and sometimes you just got to do that, especially if it's going to be potentially a last spurt kind of thing. You don't know when you're going to have that kind of opportunity, especially with this lifestyle. It's not what we'd prefer, but we chose this lifestyle. So you make your bed, you gotta lie on it. This segment right here, you can see we're still doing a little bit of work on it. We got grapes down in here currently. You got blueberry plants, raspberries, strawberries. Not with the great success, but the soil is absolutely tapped on account of basically right here where the garden starts, where pasture 1 starts. All this historically was all tobacco bottom. Nothing wrong with it, but when you run tobacco like that, it can zap the nutrients in the soil, and basically kind of like you see here on the road, it's just all clay. Obviously things can still grow in it, but what we want to grow ain't growing. But here's the garden, just beyond, down to the bass pond, down to the creek, up to that opening. That is all pasture 1. Then you got pasture 2, pasture 3, and the holding paddock. We're gonna take you on up Sourwood Loop. It's a bumpy ride. Needs a lot more work done. we'll take you a little bit further on down here before we turn around, head back down towards Thunder Ridge Ranch and show you the back 40. Just kind of wanted to show you right here. This is a prime example of a sourwood. One of my favorite trees personally on the property. This is not one of the best sourwoods we got on the property. We got some pretty big trees, and we got a tree up by the house that's got a quite impressive canopy. Kind of hard to display on video right now with how thick the woods is. We're in a slow process of clearing everything out, but basically this here's the marker for apiary Bravo. Like I said, I'll get into that here. What we're doing with here in apiary Bravo, this is going to be where we're going to raise our nukes or nucleus colonies. And basically what that is a 5-frame starter colony. Whether you're just getting into beekeeping for the first time, or maybe you've been doing it for a year, 2, 10, 20 years, don't matter. Sometimes you lose a hive and you need to replace that hive. We'll be raising those hives for people to be able to purchase here in Kentucky. We're gonna start lining them up this way, and we'll work them up this way a little ways. It just depends on what kind of workload I can handle as far as how many hives I will be running. But those will all be available for sale when we get to that point. But that's the premise here of this ridge. We'll be using it for apiary Bravo, nucleus colonies of honeybees for sale. Inevitably, we're probably going to have to use 1 or 2 here and there. The goal is to not, but you can't foresee the future. So basically, everything down below there, that's all pasture 3. All the way to where sourwood loop kind of stretches on around and then drops back down. We've got videos on the channel that highlight that. Once again, roads ain't quite built for the truck to drive. Just little by little, y'all. You got to chip away at these things little by little. We're just kind of introducing y'all to the ranch and our vision, and hopefully you get an idea. And if it's something that you're interested in following and getting to know, we'd love to have you for the journey. And this will help you kind of understand our vision. Historically, this has been a big mud hole, watering hole. This road here has always been an issue. I threw in a culvert a year or 2 ago. Whenever it rains, you can see it's still kind of wet, but this will fill up with water and frogs propagate in it, so we don't mind it. We just don't want wet roads, so we built up the road, dropped in the culvert. As you can see, I'm slowly building out a ditch, kind of ushering the water out, and I guess you could say in a sense it's an underswell for the pond. Those who've been with us for a while will recognize this is where Thunder Ridge Road used to go, and you can still see the remnants of it. We're trying to get grass to grow on through there. I believe it was the beginning of this year we revealed the renewed path of Thunder Ridge Road, which is coming through here. Still needs some work. We've already tried it. We ain't getting the truck through there. Once again, we got other videos on the channel that highlight that. So we're gonna go through old Thunder Ridge Road, take you on back here to the last final clearing. As it stands right now, that's where we're digging out the bass pond. Eventually we'll probably throw a barn up down here, store the tractor, hay and whatnot, side by side, and I'll get you a good look at the pond. So why don't we get back on in the truck? this is where we had the sawmill before. I was gonna process this hemlock here with a sawmill, but ain't a whole lot good to it. You can see that inner it's just rotted out. I don't know how far back down through there it goes. Maybe I'll cut it down in an 8-foot segment and see what we can get out of it. But certainly, just about everything you see there in frame ain't worth nothing. Got some eastern white pine logs there on that trailer. The road comes on through here, cuts up through here, and then rejoins Old Thunder Ridge Road, and that goes down 500, 600 foot maybe, and then it drops down a steep hill, and then that trail then leads to the absolute westernmost point of the property, which is a convergence of the two creeks. The creek comes down that ways, and then the other creek follows the property line, comes all the way down through here, drops off here. We got a little spot around here we call the Oasis. I ain't gonna show that today. I will point out these are my wife's favorite tree here on the property. Ain't budding right now, ain't quite season for it, but you can see, if I can get on camera, there you go. You see some of them red bits. That's the seed pods. That's the remnants from the blossoms of the big leaf magnolia. That's one of my wife's favorite trees here on the property. Here's another tulip poplar. We got ourselves another oak. As you can see, there's stuff all over the place. So, you know, we're in varying states on different projects, clearing things out. We got a brush pile here. We like to do a couple bonfires throughout the year. We shared one earlier this year. It was our first time. It was actually our second time. We realized second time live streaming on Facebook. But as I'm building out the pond, you can kind of see where I got this dirt level here. I might bring it down a titch, but and then kind of grade it on out. But what I need to do is I need to finish bringing out soil. Basically, I don't think it's really showing up on camera very well, but right about there's a tree. So all this is going to be filled in with dirt, and then we'll grade it on out, and that'll create a good bank to help hold in the water. But right here, this is the bass pond dig. We got the start here on the swell. You can kind of see it's still a little wet. You can see where the water is coming down through. Grab this stick to help kind of show. You can see very wet. This is compact clay. So that shows you, the water's going exactly where we want it to go. That swell's working out quite well already as it is. We've got this island we've built up. We need to bring it up probably about another foot so it don't go underneath water at max capacity. You can tell it's getting to be, it's fall time. It don't feel like it. It's still quite hot, but you can tell it's fall. All the leaves are starting to fall. But here's the island, and I'm gonna have to redig out a little spot here where we can beach the kayaks. We can kayak here to the island and grab the pole and rod and just cast on out. Catch some largemouth bass and some brim, and just enjoy a good old time. There's a cove right here. That's always holding at least some water. We might dig it out a titch more, but for the most part we're satisfied with that. Main thing is we got to dig out that culvert. That's our drainage overflow pipe. But we believe that this little section down here, this cove, is going to be their primary spawn area. Kind of give you an idea. The size of this pond is supposed to be at least an acre, and have depths of, deepest depths are supposed to be at minimum 10 foot. But here's the outline of the pond where you see the edge of the dirt and you see the dirt mounds. So basically right here, that is the edge of the pond. It's got that little cove there, and I believe that's where the fish will propagate, they'll spawn. Just on the other side of, I can't quite make out from what is here, Queen Ant, it can't be Queen Anne's Lace. There's goldenrod and little white flower. It's slipped my tongue what it is right now. Following that little dirt mound there, all that there, coming up, coming around here, and then we might put in a little kayak launch there. But this is this extent of our pond. We're gonna dig it out. We're gonna dig it out deeper than the 10-foot requirement, mostly because we need a lot of soil to make some repairs on the road, like you saw in Sourwood Loop. That could use some good soil laid down. But here's our island. I've got the dogwood, eastern white pine, and tulip poplar on either end. Those are mostly maples. We're going to clear them all out. Oh, and like I said, here on the other side of this pond, all that is all pasture one. In the pastures, we're going to have them all together. We'll have the cooney pigs probably coming first, then we'll bring in the Katahdin hair sheep, and then we'll bring in the Scottish Highland cows as soon as we can. There's our trusty livestock guardian dog, Doc, named after the infamous Georgian dentist turned gambler, gunslinger. Big fan of Tombstone. Didn't pick that up. So yeah, that's kind of our game plan. We got bees, we got chickens and turkeys behind the house, as you saw at the original overlay. The first screen, or second screen we had before we started driving down the driveway and driving throughout these roads that we've forged out and repaired and whatnot. Always constant work. We're Thunder Ridge Ranch. I'm a combat disabled veteran. My wife and family, they helped me run this operation. We're slowly building up and getting what we want. We've got chickens and turkeys now. We've got the honeybees. This starts to the honey apiary. Eventually we're going to expand that to the second apiary, which will have nucleus colonies. We're going to bring in the cooney pigs, and that's for meat. We're going to bring in the Katahdin hair sheep. We're going to be using milk from them for handmade soaps, and we'll be planning to try and learn and see if we can't incorporate homemade lye. The meat will then also feed the dogs. We will eventually bring in the Highland cows. That'll be for meat, and then we'll use their tallow fat in our soaps as well. The goal is to be basically self-sustaining, and we want to build community, not just here in our nearby town, our county, but the entirety of the state and the homestead community as a whole. We support small-time family farms and ranches. We do a lot of our own work here. We got a sawmill, and we're slowly getting into that as well. Stay tuned if you want to see our adventures and how we progress and what we might be able to share with you, and we look forward to having you on the journey if that's something that you're interested in. So why don't we ride on back up to the house, and y'all have a good one. We hope that y'all have a blessed and productive day. We hope that if you do decide to stick around and watch the channel, we hope you enjoy it, maybe learn something. With any other regard, have a blessed and productive day. We'll see y'all around. Y'all stay blessed now.